It says
Live.
It says live.
It says live. Welcome, everybody.
All right. Welcome to this episode of the Marketing Guides for Small Business podcast. My name is Ian Cantle, and today we're continuing our series about online funnels and the role that offers play in the success of your funnels. If you're having challenges building out your funnels, or if your current funnels aren't generating the leads like you want, the culprit might be your offer. So on the show today, I am joined by Jen Kelly from New Initiatives Marketing in Toronto, Ontario, Ken and Paul from Chainscape Web in St. Charles, Missouri.
I'll wait for Paul too.
And Dan from Caliber Brand Strategy in Chicago.
Either.
Good morning, everybody, or it's afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody, depending where you are. So let's get started, guys. This is a great topic. I'm glad we're jumping into it and digging deeper into this funnels topic. So Ken, let's start by defining what we mean by a funnel offer. What is an offer, and why is it key to the success of your funnel?
Yeah, great question. And, it is absolutely critical. If you don't have a good offer, nobody is going to enter your funnel. You can drive all the traffic you want. People can find the funnel all they want, but if your offer is not resonating with the people that you're trying to get into your funnel, then it's going to fail. So what you need to do is you definitely need to make sure you think about what offer can you provide to the ideal customers that you're trying to get into your funnel. If you're CrossFit is a great example. If you're targeting CrossFit, maybe even women who do CrossFit, maybe your offer, if you're a chiropractor, for example, is to give a free massage, for the free 15-minute massage. And in return, you get you can target women who do CrossFit, and they probably are going to convert pretty well and take advantage of that. Now, maybe it's sign up for 15 minutes and get 15 minutes free. Maybe it's something like that. But it's all about the target audience of who is going to be interested in your offer. It's got to be compelling and of interest to them. And, for a marketing consultant, maybe a free consultation is okay. Maybe it's, sign up for a marketing checkup, normally $299. But if you sign up in the next 7 days, it's $149 or something like that. But it's got to be something of value to your perceived customers. Otherwise, it's going to fall flat on its face. So then I think when you look at what do you want to think about in terms of an offer, as the business, what can you do that is a really good loss leader? We've probably all heard the phrase loss leader. There are certain things that you're willing to give away or do at practically cost, just because it's so valuable to get somebody to become a customer or experience that try offer that's really valuable for them, so that they're very likely to become a paying customer. And your offer can get them to become a paying customer, or it can be just to get them to try the experience of working with your business. So you really have to think this out. You're going to have to experiment. I think you're going to have to test, look and see what your competitors are doing. If your competitors are doing nothing, then anything you do is probably better. But they're not going to help you much in terms of coming up what that offer should be. But I think the offer is absolutely critical, and it depends on the nature of the business. If it's a restaurant or a gym or something that you can do to get people immediately in the door, make it as compelling as possible, get them to experience it, and then have a plan to get them to come back a second and a third time. Because by the time you get them into the second or the third time, you've probably got them as a good, solid repeat customer. And that's critical. For a marketing company, that's not going to work. For a roofing company, that's not going to work. You're not going to get people back multiple times. Maybe if you're a roofing contractor, can you set it up so that they come in and have their gutters cleaned. Is that something that you can do of value? It's probably not the service you want to offer, right? But can you get them to become a recurring customer twice a year to get their gutters cleaned? Now, when that's happening, when they do have a roof problem and they have a leak, who are they going to call? Somebody that they already trust who's been on their roof taking care of their gutters. So I know that's a long answer. I think it's super important. This is the most important thing I think that people skipped. They just want to do something simple and they want to go cheap. If you really want it to work, I think you got to focus on the value to the customer. Put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah, and I like the way you talked about really you're trying to drive somebody to act, and it's got to be compelling. So Dan, what things should a business consider when they're brainstorming offers?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the things, it's very easy. I think the default for a lot of businesses is to say money back guarantee or free, and then just think that takes care of everything. And unfortunately, it doesn't. One of the things I do like a lot is to have something that's time sensitive. So when you're thinking about your offer, is there a couple things? Is there a time sensitivity to it, or is there an exclusivity to it? So, for example, I will just bid on an example of this a couple hours ago. Someone that we've all seen at a conference who was a great speaker, and he said, well, I will give you 3 to 5 leads in the first month of working with me or your money back. Now, there's a guarantee of that, but he also said, I only have X amount of people open for this program. Now, whether that's true or not, I felt like, ooh, well, he's coming to me and I better get in on this because that window is going to close. And I actually believed him. I do believe him. I think it will close. So don't resort, when you're thinking of your offer, I think one of the things is not just the money aspect. I think you don't have to give it away. I think a lot of times we tend to do that. We don't have to do that. Like, for example, what's your try before the buy offer that makes it easy for them to take a first step? Is it, let's say, some kind of assessment? Well, that might cost a whole lot normally, but now it's only whatever it is, dollars wise, but you still are charging for that. And that's a really good qualifier, because a lot of times free is not a good qualifier. It's just, oh, well, I'm a window shopping tire kicker, and that's not going to do it. But if I put out a little bit of money, then I'm invested. So think about that part of it. You actually may want to charge, and I usually say charge something. I don't care what it is, but charge something to make sure that they have an investment in it. And then think about what's the time sensitivity to it. It's not an open-ended, hey, whenever you get around to it, maybe you'd like to do this free thing. It's in the next 30 days, we are going to have this open for this amount of time, and only you among a very select number of people are getting this message. That makes me feel like I am exclusive. That makes me feel like I got something here that is special, and I'd better at least explore where it goes with a first conversation. So that's the only other thing I would say is, you're not trying to get them to bite. You don't have to get them to try and bite right then and there. And, if they're in our services with a complex sale, there's probably a discovery conversation that has to happen. But at the end of that discovery conversation, we're going to dance or we're not. And that's pretty much the way it goes.
So Dan, you're talking about both time sensitivity, but also limited number maybe as well. I mean, you could do either or both, right?
Yeah, these are the kind of variables I would encourage people to think about as they're coming up with their offer. Is it not just, giving it away for free? Because free is not as compelling as people think it is. Free is kind of like, oh, okay, well, it's always going to be around, so I can get to it when I want, and that doesn't do as much as people think. It's a lot more. It actually gives me value to know that something is $99, that there is something attached to it, and normally it might be $3.99, but it's only going to be this way for another 30 days. and it's only going to be offered to X amount of people. So again, I'm not saying that you have to do all of those variables, but think about those kinds of, criteria as you're thinking about it, because you can have that exclusivity if you want. Anything to help qualify these folks who come in the door versus just saying, hey, whoever wants this free thing, come on in. That's not going to help you qualify anybody.
And I think we all understand as business owners that when you have skin in the game, if this person trying you out has skin in the game, they also have a reciprocal knowledge that you have a greater responsibility to deliver on something they've paid for, even if it's a smaller amount of money than on something free, right? It's just something we all understand.
Yeah. I mean, it's feeling like you're going to fear of missing out. We've heard that phrase so many times, and I think
FOMO.
FOMO is real. FOMO is real, because if you feel like, we've seen this enough times, things do raise up, and sometimes the people who get on the ground floor get sort of grandfathered in at a special rate. So you got that fear of missing out going on. It can work.
It does work.
It does work. Yes.
Well, and this leads nicely, Jen, does a funnel only need one offer, or should it only have one offer? And if not, how many should they have? And where would these offers fit within a funnel?
That's a stacked question there, isn't it?
Just loading up those questions.
All right. Yes and no and yes. How about that? So let's just peel this back a little bit too, because I'm just thinking of our audience, small business owners, and perhaps, we're getting too marketing-y with all our jargon and whatnot. So offer, let me take you through one offer. No. You know, it's easy to, right? It's easy just to get into all the jargon and whatnot. But what I want to convey by, simplifying my answer is that the idea of a funnel, you already do this in real life, or you're already doing this in your conversations. So, I mean, think about, we're in a pandemic right now. So wherever you are in the world, if you're allowed to meet with people or not, you meet a prospect and you're talking about things. And then something comes up in the conversation and you may add something else into it. So, did you know about this strategy? Okay, well, it was mentioned in this book, right? In a natural conversation, you might go through and introduce one topic and then say, well, if you're interested in that, here's something else you should check out. So I want folks to think about that. That's exactly what's happening in a funnel where there's more than one offer. So in a funnel, there's one offer coming in. So if it's your first funnel, or you're just starting out with funnels, I would say leave it at one. Get used to the mechanism, see how it's working for your business, and then you can always add in a secondary offer, or you could start with a second funnel. So get good at the fundamentals first of all. What is meant by a secondary offer? So think about this. You go ahead, you're going to download that checklist, right? So you're starting to come into the funnel. You're going to download the checklist. Let's keep it about funnels. Download a checklist about funnels. Okay, you get a thank you. And then the secondary offer could be, we've got a webinar coming up next Tuesday all about how to get started with the funnels. Would you like to sign up for that? So that could be a secondary offer that is connected to the first offer, but is bringing the person along about, I was interested in funnels. I got my checklist. Maybe I should sign up for that webinar. And boom, you can do that as well. So there's an example of two offers in a funnel that are related. And in this example, anyways, don't cost anything.
That's awesome. And one thing came to mind when you were talking as well is that as the business owners creating a funnel, we also want to think, like, what's our end goal, right? Like, what are we might give them something discounted, but and we might move them to a webinar, but is there a bigger picture of, hey, do we want them actually to buy into a particular service or product that we might present at that webinar that is then kind of a third level, or maybe you're not even presenting it as an offer. It's just your end goal of giving stuff away at a discounted rate or whatever it might be. Those are great examples.
Yeah, I think there has to be a thing too, though, and this is going to be through testing and through figuring out your own audience's tolerance for it. I mean, some folks just want to come in and get the offer and go, and sometimes,
Right.
If the funnel keeps going on, you can feel like that salesperson who is like, "You made the sale, stop selling. Like, just give me what I need and let me get out of here," right? Because I mean, you are starting the relationship, so you don't want to pile everything you know into the first interaction. So it's got to be, it's got to be done with some finesse for sure.
So using the KISS principle of keep it simple, silly, and then and your last point about building a relationship is really key, right? You can get very technical thinking about funnels and lose the focus of relationships. So that's a fantastic point, Jen. Hey, Paul, how do you know when your offer is working, and what are the best ways to track the success of your offer?
Well, if people are taking advantage of your offer, it's probably working. There's the short answer. But that's actually a good question. It's how many people are taking advantage of the offer as opposed to how many people actually clicked to look at the offer. And that goes back to what you said about tracking. And if you drive them to a landing page and people take advantage of the offer, and it also depends on what your offer is. It could be an ebook download. It could be, a checklist. It could be a webinar. And you can track all those things. I won't get into how you track it so much, but if it's a video, how far into the video did they watch it? If it's an ebook download, how many people downloaded it, as opposed to how many people actually went to that landing page, said, okay, there's an ebook, big deal, and they leave. So it's really just about tracking how many people take advantage of that offer. And like I said, I mean, if people are taking advantage of your offer, then it's working. If they're not, then you need to, and there are things like something out there called Hotjar, where you can see what people are looking at and what they're doing on that landing page. And I was setting up, it was an AdWords campaign, and I was setting up forms on that landing page. And I actually it was the same form, but it was two different instances of the same form. And I found that I had one form near the top of the page and one form near the bottom of the page. And it was a form at the bottom of the page that people were filling out. So that told me that people at the top, they wanted a little bit of information before they were willing to fill out that form or make a phone call. So there's things you can do, and you can get as complicated as you want, but that's not always necessary. But you can get very sophisticated in your tracking if you want to.
Very cool. Yeah, I was on a course a little while ago, and we were talking about a product, and we could get lost in a discussion about tools, of course, but Funnelytics was kind of a cool one that was presented, where that basically it tracks each step of the funnel and the different components, and visually shows you the success of it. So I thought that was a pretty cool one. Of course, there's cost to these tools, so you have to take that into account as well.
Well, yeah, and also, I mean, within your CRM, you can define stages of, a particular pipeline, and as people move through those stages through your funnel, if you will, you can automate, or you can manually track their progress from one stage to the next. So you can certainly track it in your CRM. You should be tracking it in your CRM as well.
Great point, Ken. And Ken, how would you recommend a small business owner come up with the best offers for their funnel? Is there a process, or how would you recommend they do that?
Yeah, I mean, if there was a process in place, I think I'd be really rich. By the way, before I answer this question, I've got to dispel something that Ian said last week that's been bothering me.
Oh boy!
Here we go.
We've got an overlay on this live stream that says "Live with the Guides," and I want to make sure people realize it's live with the guides, not live with the guides.
I was wondering why I was getting new people who wanted to live with me.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Thanks for clearing that up, Ken.
I think business owners, again, they need to think about what are they trying to accomplish. And, because you can have funnels that are more marketing objectives or sales objectives. And, it's a perfectly valid thing for a funnel to help you grow your list. And lists are golden because you can take lists and now you can drop them into other funnels. So growing your list may be the objective of what you're trying to accomplish. And so what Jen was talking about, where you have some kind of a checklist that somebody downloads, that that might be good enough. If the checklist offers real value to help somebody solve a problem or understand their problem, that's great. For professional services, the kinds of things we do for accountants, attorneys, folks like that, you can have an assessment online that helps people kind of do a little bit of diagnosis to find out, here's kind of the situation I'm facing. Maybe I'm okay. Maybe I just need to go get these resources. Or maybe I need to schedule a consultation because I really do have some real issues going on. And so assessments are really working great. Quizzes are, assessments and quizzes, I think, are both kind of two sides of the same coin in terms of that. It also is great for you if those work for your business because it helps people to really either qualify or disqualify themselves as people that might be really good fits for your business. So that's fantastic. But if you're a brick and mortar business, you probably really, especially now, you're probably just really trying to get people into your store, whether it's virtually, where they're buying something online, they're buying something and picking it up and having curbside delivery, or if you are fortunate enough to be open, getting people to come into your store. And so you've got to make a compelling offer there. I think the other thing too is you do want to give some thought to how complicated you want to make this. You can have multiple components to your funnel where somebody could sign up for one thing, then you could offer them an upsell or a cross-sell opportunity which could be really good for your business because the cost of sale is usually one of the most difficult challenges we all face when we're trying to get a brand new lead. It's easier and it's less expensive for us as businesses to get somebody to buy again. And so if you can make that second purchase a part of your funnel where you're still delivering massive value, you should do that. You should think about that. So every business really, you need to talk through this. You need to work with people who are experienced in creating funnels to help you come up with a good set of offers. And if there was a silver bullet out there or a magic formula, there's some really good guides that are out there. But we would all be very rich if that was the case. I wish it was. I'd like to have one.
And we're actually in the process as a team of building out a funnel guide, right? Like that's one of our goals for this year is to provide small businesses with a guide in how to do funnels. So maybe we'll have further defined not a silver bullet, but a process that helps people through this by then.
That's why you need to subscribe to the podcast.
That's right.
Yes.
Dan, what are some offers that you've seen that work really well for businesses?
Well, I thought about this before, and it's funny you asked that question because I was thinking about this as we were doing this topic, and I was thinking about the ones that have worked on me in the last 30 days or so, and the ones that have worked on me pretty darn well are ones that a few like founder level pricing, which is basically get in on it now. It's like we said,
right.
Get in on this now. You're the first class. There's never going to be a second first class of this program. Get in on it. It's one time only, and it'll never be this price again. That worked. I was a sucker for that, and it was a good program. So it was good. Second, live Q&A. I'm going to get live access to you. Ooh, that's good. It's very tempting to do recorded stuff, but as we say, I mean, look at us. We're live right here. People can ask questions. It's nice. I mean, it's a really good thing to be accessible and have access to somebody who's an expert. So when you're live, I think that's really good. I think if it is that worked on me was a book that I could absorb in the next 28 days. And all I have to do is spend 14 minutes listening to a recording on one chapter. That's not a big investment of my time. It only costs $60. And I said, sure, I've even read this book before, but I'm going to do that. Why not? And then I can use it. The other one that we've used, all of us have probably used, is for our strategy. I mean, one version of our strategy for all of us is basically that you can get a strategy for your brand in 3 weeks. There's a time sensitivity to that as far as, oh, that's all it takes? Sure. What do I have to pay for it? It's not free. It's not free. You pay for it, and then we qualify. And then finally, anything that is exclusive, like a club or a mastermind or anything like that, that gives me like-minded people versus walking into a room with, 100. I can really get some knowledge in a short period of time, and we're all going towards the same goal. These are all things that I think have worked well on me, and none of these things are free. All of these things are paid for. It's always been, though, a time sensitivity or a live access or some kind of exclusivity involved. That's what's worked really well.
Anybody else have some examples they want to share? I'm sure we've all seen these, but...
Oh yeah, it's early access is another great strategy. Buy now before the price goes up, kind of a thing. Always works really well. We've never offered it at this price, and we're never going to offer it again. I think when you are creating an offer, you always have to have some limit to it. It has to expire in a certain time, or there are only a certain number of them available. Otherwise, people might, unless there's just a really compelling need that they have immediately, they're not going to take that action. So you want to use that accelerant, if you will, of the exclusivity, the time limitation, the limited number of availabilities to drive your offer. Otherwise, if you just sit around and wait and you don't have those things and it's open-ended, you may not get the performance. And unless you're doing a list building strategy, that's the kind of thing that's just going to sit and run. Download our checklist. You're going to be, build your list by doing things like that. That's okay. But if you're really expecting sales and where people are becoming customers, you've got to put some kind of a constraint on the offer.
Yeah, I liked your example too early on about the chiropractor who, instead of offering like a free massage, could offer like a half price one, or a 15 minutes free massage if you book a 15-minute massage, or something like that, where they're getting the person in. It is a try, but it's also a buy. I was reminded this week, I don't actively promote it a lot, but I through my business, and maybe you guys do the same thing, offer a free website review. And so we do a limited number of those a month because they do take our time and our expertise. But I just did one the other day, and it was a fantastic relationship building opportunity with a prospective person that looks like they may become a client of mine. And so that, to me, just, as you guys have been talking, it just reinforces the value of really understanding what could be of value to people. How do you prove value before they buy, or through a micro payment of some kind?
And that's, you just reminded me something, Ian, of an example of that these things don't have to cost a lot of money that people do for the investment. But many of us have used this tool called Loom, which is a video recording for ourselves. Well, that was the only level they ever did for a long time. And then they came out with this Loom Pro. Well, Loom Pro was like, it wasn't anything, it was $10, but they didn't have it open. They just kind of put it out there for a few months to say, hey, this is coming, get on our wait list now. Well, people, I don't know, some people I know were beating down the door to try, because we knew what the features were. So if you put the features out there, it's going to have A, B, C, D, and E. Get on the wait list now, so that, we're going to start inviting people in gradually, not open the doors all at once. I think that's kind of what you're even seeing now with Clubhouse, whether it's good or bad. There is that thing of, well, some people have invites and some people don't. So make sure that you're on the list. So that's a good lead capture kind of thing that you might explore.
Value in advance, I mean, we talk about it, a lot of people think that you just create web content and people are going to sign up and become a customer right away. You've got to give them value. You've got to give them a reason to be interested in your business. The reality is people now have control over the sales process. It didn't used to be that they didn't have nearly as much control, but they now have full control. They go out, they can research their own companies. They can, find different resources. They can, check out social media. They can do Google searches. They can do a variety of, they can listen to podcasts like this if it's relevant. You've got to give them value if you're going to want to be in that game.
Yeah. A question just popped up in my mind related to offers. And I'm hesitant to ask this, Dan, because, it might be a soapbox opportunity for you, but for our listeners, Dan, if you don't know already, Dan is an exceptional content creator, copywriter extraordinaire. And one thing we haven't really touched on, and I'm sure we'll get into this later as it applies to the full funnel in another podcast, but related to the offer itself, how important is the actual copywriting of that? Is that an important factor?
Yes, I think it's always going to be an important factor, because if something feels, like you're not excited about it, then they're not going to be excited about it. So, for example, one of the things that I think that is often written, let's say by financial folks, the big default offer usually is, bring us your statements and we'll be glad to compare it to other people. Well, how can you get really that excited about that anyway? That's like an offer that everybody else and their sister does. So that's not really like anything you can get excited about in your content and your writing about it. I don't care what it is. So yes, the offer still has to be great and unique in its own right, which then usually feeds into the conversational quality about it. I think one of the things about the offer that, though, is really, really powerful that I can't forget is, one is a testimonial, and several of them, I've been through Ian's program and I loved it. I was here and now I'm there and you should do it too. That's always good. And if I see enough of those that resonate with me, that's a good one. But if I don't have that and it's just, well, here's another thing that's like everybody else is offering, then the copywriting is going to be reflected in it. It's going to be boring, it's going to be dry, and it's just going to lay there. And you can't have that. You can't have that and expect somebody to part with their dollars and time for it. What makes it unique, what makes it different. So I do think you have to definitely have a little bit of show us your features, show us your proof points, your testimonials. Things like that are all part of the offer. So you don't have to make it this bite-sized thing that's meaningless. I've seen a page done on an offer and it goes on and on. By the time you're done, you're like, oh yeah, what's the price for this thing already? I want to buy. Here's my card. Take my money.
They just keep pushing you closer to the edge of buying, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've all seen those, right? Where we've seen those long scrolling offers. And usually they can be, a lot, and they can kind of feel like overkill. But the one thing I'll say about them is if it's different enough, you can go down the page as long as you have unique, different things to say, whether it's video plus text plus testimonial, then it kind of adds up. By the end, you're like, okay, so you're ready to do this? Well, you're ready to at least take the next step. And that's what really makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about the before and the after state, right? I mean, somebody has a situation or a problem before, and your offer has to solve that problem. And then you have to make it compelling by describing what is their life going to be like? What is the transformation that is going to take place once they claim that offer? And that's really where I think the copywriting power comes in, is in describing that transformation from before to after when somebody takes advantage of the offer.
I gotta say this one because I forgot about it. It was one of the best things I've seen in a long, and it happened this morning actually. It was a calculator that calculated the expense of you not doing something. So here's where you are, here's where you want to be, and here's what it's costing you not to do this today.
Yeah,
So
opportunity.
suddenly I was like,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and I'd never seen that before.
And it should probably be said too, even though I feel like we shouldn't have to say this, but spell check. Like, make sure you spell check that stuff. That's why it's good to have somebody that's really good at copy review your stuff before it goes live, because it reflects on the quality of your service that you're offering.
Yeah. Your name would be not a good thing for you to put out there. I would say that.
Hey, Paul, can you give some examples of offers that you've seen for a few different types of businesses so we can see how it works in different industries?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've actually kind of touched on that a little bit throughout this podcast, but one thing we haven't really talked about is, let's say you're a siding contractor, for instance, and you have vinyl siding and you have fiber cement siding, which is very high-end siding, expensive. So yeah, you could certainly offer a discount, but your offer may be more of a value proposition or a educational type of thing, maybe a questionnaire to decide which is better for you, vinyl or fiber cement. Because there's, if you're not going to be in the house very long, you probably don't want to spend $50,000 on fiber cement siding. It could be a video, an educational video, because usually if people are looking at something like fiber cement siding, that, like I said, that could be $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, they're not going to go online, find a website and decide to do it. Generally speaking, they're going to want information. That's a long sales cycle. So your offer might be more educational. And then I actually like what Ken said about the chiropractor with the cross training is a good example. So you really have to know your business and what your sales cycle is and what people need, because with a high-end product at the beginning of that sales cycle, people need information. You need to establish yourself as an authority, and they need to know they can trust you. And then you bring them down that funnel. And like I said, you can certainly have some kind of discount on something like that, but you definitely want to put a time limit on it.
That's great. Thank you, Paul. And Jen, after your funnel is launched, is it worthwhile testing other offers?
Yeah, it is. You know what? Marketing is sometimes called like an art and a science. And here's where I think we can lean on the science. And what I mean by that is by having a hypothesis about what's going to happen. I think this big offer is going to be the one. Let's try it and go into developing your funnel with that kind of mindset. Because what I see on the other side of it is either I'm a genius, this worked, or do I really have a business? It goes from one to the other. So if we go in there and we think, okay, so say in B2B, we've got this white paper, we've worked really hard on it. It attacks some of the major things that are happening in our industry. This is great. We think this is going to be a slam dunk. Let's put this in a funnel and away we go. Okay, let's just see what the appetite is for this type of information out there. If that doesn't seem to be working, then the thing is, you can test it with something else. Okay, do we need a checklist? Do we need a summary? Is a white paper too much right now for this audience? What else can we do? But I think you have to go into the offer or with the offer when you're setting up your funnel thinking, okay, there's this. If that could not work, it may not work. We have to, Because also too, and this is really funny when we're doing some work for clients, and some of them, what are the best practices? What's this? What's that? And there are some things that are very important to have the best practices for sure. But there's also what is the best practice for your audience. What does your audience react to? And you're only going to figure that out once you start testing and seeing what offer resonates. So by all means, if you have a funnel that's not really working for you, I would say test, swap out the offers, and just keep testing until it starts working for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and there are platforms that make the testing of these offers pretty inexpensive. I mean, and again, this is going to vary widely based on the industries that you're in or the nature of your business. I think about a restaurant. I mean, one of the best ways to test offers is if you have a text message marketing program, a real one where you're getting people legitimately opting in. You can do a new offer a week and see what kind of response you're getting. Now, it's not going to be perfect, but if you have the ability to track redemptions, that's going to tell you whether or not that offer is working pretty well. So it might be, buy one, get one. It might be free appetizer. It might be buy a medium and automatically get upgraded to a large for like a pizza or something like that. And you could try these offers and see which one works. The great thing is, with text message marketing, it's super easy to change those out. The key thing is you've got to have the ability to capture redemption, because that's the way to make sure that you're closing the deal. So you want to have an offer code. You want to make sure you can enter in the offer code into your system so that you can track revenue and numbers of redemptions and things like that. So, I mean, you don't have to spend a lot of money, and you don't have to build these big, complex online funnels even. Just create a system, measure, track, modify. That's the beauty of digital marketing ultimately.
It's funny, Ken, because as you're talking, I think it's so often we think about selling someone on the engagement, and with the right offer, you can just sell them, get to the try. And if all things are, thinking optimistically here, then you're going to be able to probably convert them 9 times out of 10. Because if the offer is good, then don't worry so much about the end in mind, but that interim step that the offer can create for you.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely want to, if your end goal is to just get somebody to try, and they're going to spend a little bit of money with you ideally for that try, have a plan to get them to come back a second and a third time, so that it may not be necessarily integrated into the existing part of the funnel, but you've got to capture enough information from them during that experience to where, and be prepared to take those actions, whether it's setting up another funnel or whether it's reaching out and going old school and giving them a phone call and giving them a reason to come back again. And the great thing is you can automate a lot of this. But have that plan, because otherwise that's where Groupon, I think, fails too many businesses. The objective is literally just to get somebody in the door, and then they get this ridiculous deal. Great. What next? And so, part of the challenge is that people literally will go from one Groupon company to the next, chasing the offer with no brand loyalty, and that's sad. I mean, that can destroy a business.
Yeah, you want to make sure you're investing wisely in what you're presenting to people. And this is probably a great place to wrap up, guys. Thanks for guiding our listeners on this important topic of offers for their funnels. We'll see them next week. And to all those listening to this podcast, we just want to invite your questions, invite your comments. And if you have topic suggestions that you'd like this panel of experts to cover, please don't hesitate to reach out to us through any of the channels that you find us on. Thanks so much, and have a great week.
See you.
See you.